Hi everyone, I'm Lee Salisbury and welcome to Soap from the Box, the podcast where I interview some of the UK's leading actors. I directed them in some of the country's biggest continuing dramas and am now friends with them. And yes, it is Wednesday and this is a bonus special edition because everyone in England is going into lockdown tomorrow and I thought we all needed a bit of cheering up. And also because the world's longest running drama serial, Coronation Street, is going to be 60 in a month's time. So I thought let's get the ball rolling and let's get a Coronation Street star on for this bonus edition of the podcast. Enjoy. Okay, so my guest on the podcast this week is someone who our paths have constantly crossed in life. She was in Emmerdale, but I missed her and I joined Emmerdale. She was on Dancing on Ice and Dance with Dan Whiston, who I'd known dancing with other people, but I missed her. But then finally, when I joined Coronation Street, our paths aligned. Hello, Hayley Tamaddon.
I feel like I've known you forever.
I know. I mean, we have now, I suppose, but we were kind of, I think we knew each other from other people and we did already know each other, but like working together seems to have like taken ages, didn't it, until we finally did.
Did we never work together on Emmerdale? Are you definitely 100% sure?
Yeah, no, because I mean, we'll get to those stories. That was way before, not way before me, because you're not that, you're not that old. I'm older than you, but no, we definitely didn't work.
Than me. I don't believe that for a second.
I mean, let's not go into age, Hayley. We don't want to get into that on the podcast.
I'm older than you.
When were you born? Go on.
1977.
Oh, you are a year older than me. Yes. This is a good start to the podcast. Today we're going to talk half and half, really, about the character, and there's two characters because you've been in two soaps, and then the real you as well. So we're going to start with Emmerdale.
Yes.
Obviously, you played Delilah Dingle. You joined in July 2005. Now, A, you joined Emmerdale, and B, you joined the Dingles. I mean, that's a double whammy, isn't it?
It was literally a life-changing moment. I couldn't have wished for anything better. I'd been so trying desperately to change over from theatre to telly, and it was really difficult to do. I was in a brilliant musical called A Chorus Line at the Crucible, and Sue Jackson, who used to cast Emmerdale,
I remember Sue, yeah.
Yeah, she actually came to watch the show, and I got myself a new agent because of that show, who did a lot more TV. And she just happened to be speaking to Sue about the show. And Sue went, "Oh my God, I went to see it. Which is your girl?" And Elizabeth said, "Oh, Hayley Tamaddon." She said, "Oh, we must get her in for a casting for Emmerdale." I really liked her. And it started off like that. And then it was Faye Styring, who I eventually met. And I love Faye. She's a wonderful casting director. And
She's still at Emmerdale casting. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And I have them to thank for everything. You know, I went in and I auditioned for a different part and I ended up getting the role of Del Dingle.
Which often happens, actually, doesn't it, in television? That's often the case. And I mean, I remember reading when I did Hollyoaks, there's a handbook that they give the cast. And one of this profound sentence is just kind of in the middle of the handbook that says, once you join this show, your life will change. And being young that you were joining, I mean, it really does, doesn't it? The minute you're on screen in a soap, It's like, I say, it's bigger than like most C-list Hollywood stars in a way in this country.
Absolutely. And especially because I'd always wanted this. I've been I've trained my whole life since being a child for theatre, for telly, for, this is what I live and breathe. So to get a role that was going to be life-changing for me, I was like, well, how will it happen? And I tell you what, I was walking down the road with my friend and we saw this white van man, like a DIY van, and he was sat reading the Daily Star, and my friend went, "Oh my God, that's you." A double page spread of like 10 pictures of me, and I couldn't believe it. And we went into the newspaper shop and there it was all over the front cover.
I mean, how does that feel? I mean, in a way, this is really bizarre, right? Because we talk about this and in a way, as we know, fame is kind of a double-edged sword, but I mean, you'll never get over the excitement, surely, of seeing yourself in a paper, even if it is the Daily Star.
Yeah, the Daily Star. It was honestly, it was so exciting. I mean, I rang my mom, I rang everybody, said it's happened, and then I was on screen, and the minute you're on screen, it's almost another change, because then people in the street start to recognise you, but they don't know who you are. They don't know Hayley. They just know Del Dingle.
Yeah.
So if Del Dingle's up to mischief and stealing money off people and, you know, doing...
They're hiding their handbags as they walk past you.
That's exactly it, right? And you've got people then shouting, "Oi, Del, give me my money back," and, you know, awful things like that. It had a bit of an adverse effect on me. I thought this was everything I'd always wanted, and I didn't think I would shy away from it at all, but I actually started suffering panic attacks. I was terrified to go out. I, on a weekend, would just lock myself in my house. I didn't deal with it as well as I thought I would.
I don't think anyone can prepare for that. I mean, I think so many people think it's great to be famous, and obviously there's upsides to it, but I think if you say to anyone, right, you know, you're feeling hungover or you're feeling ill and you want to pop to the shop, I mean, it just changes your life like that, because you're going to be stopped. You're going to have, I mean, especially nowadays that everyone's a journalist, everyone's got a phone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is profoundly kind of going to have an effect on your mental health, I think. And that's coming to light now a lot more, isn't it? Because you joined obviously before social media was around as well. So, I mean, it's for younger cast members now, it's got harder and harder, hasn't it?
Oh, so much harder, especially having social media around. I think social media, as wonderful as it is in one respect, is really can be quite detrimental on your mental health. And I'm a bit of an advocate for this. I constantly talk about it because it isn't real social media. It's not real life. What you see is in pictures of people with their happy lives and the celebrities that are all looking brilliant and happy, full of faces, full of makeup and blah, blah, blah. It isn't real life, you know, it's a mask, isn't it? And
well, I think we all know, like, no one posts, you know, you don't post on Facebook if you're having the worst day in the world and you know, you're having your worst meal, you know, you always put the best of the best on there. And I think people, you're so right, people like believe that all these people's lives are constantly this amazing.
Yeah, but I try to do the other thing. I try to post when things aren't right, and I post without my makeup on, and, you know, all those things, because especially for the younger generation, not just in this industry, but the younger generation that look up to people in this industry, I want to be a bit more of a better role model. You know, I've not always been perfect. I've been no angel in my life at all, but I think growing up in this industry, the older I've got, the more I realise that when I was younger, the people I looked up to, thank goodness the people I looked up to were people like Bonnie Langford, you know?
Yeah. Who literally is perfect.
Yeah, she's absolutely perfect. She was wonderful in every way, you know? Yeah. Looking up to Mary Poppins.
So Emmerdale, though, you were the 30th Dingle family member, so you were around number. But I mean, what was it like just going in? Because the Dingles still to this day are obviously the most renowned family in Emmerdale. I mean, that itself must have been like, wow.
It was the most daunting, exciting thing ever. I remember going in on my first day and just meeting the Dingles themselves, you know, and being...
And who was there? Remind us who was there when you joined.
Well, they were all there. Zach, Lisa...
Jeff. Was Jeff there when you joined?
Yeah. Dingle, yeah. And then after a year of me being there, little Belle Dingle joined.
Oh, and Eden now. I mean, you look at her now, when I watch it now, it's like, oh my God.
Well, it's crazy. I used to babysit her. I
know. I find it really weird when she's doing storylines. She's in a love triangle. I'm like, what? You can't be.
Yeah. Are you not still 6? When I look at you, and she was my little sister. I adored that girl. Adored her. It was just wonderful. I was part of what I think is probably the best family in soap history. The Dingles are just incredible, just brilliant. And every storyline I had was fun and funny, and I worked with some great people, and it taught me a hell of a lot, you know. I'm kind of an excited little chimp. I everything I go into, I'm full of energy and I'm full of excitement, and, you know, I ran headfirst into that, quite literally, may I add, because I literally on the first day of set ran up the stairs in the Dingles, not knowing what was at the top of the stairs. And
which to let everyone know it's nothing.
Yeah, you film there, so you know. At the top of the staircase, there is a full, like, 8-foot drop on the other side.
Yes, I know.
Nothing there. Well, I didn't know that. So they said, action, and I had to run up the stairs. Well, I fell because I nearly fell
Did you
off.
fall off? Oh my God.
And I fell at the top and I hit my head, and I had a crown on, a wedding dress and a crown, and the crown dug into my scalp, and I had to go to hospital on my first day and have my head stitched.
Well, you know why? When I joined them now, the Dingles, when I joined, has a massive board up, so there's not a drop. And obviously that's the legacy of Del Dingle.
That is why they immediately put that board up, because they couldn't believe I'd done it, you know.
I was the same as you when I joined as director, and I was just, and I know what telly's like, but you kind of still don't imagine what it's going to be like. So I kind of just thought that everywhere was in the houses.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that you walk in. So again, for people listening, when you go in the pub, it's just a vast, empty, cold shell.
Yeah.
And you've got, I think it's in Pear Tree Cottage is like makeup. The cottage next door is wardrobe. And when you join, you're just like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It's just wonderful, you know, and I don't think that feeling of being on a studio set, it never gets boring. It's always exciting. Every set I go to, you know, the same with Corrie, I look around think, this is just incredible.
For me, it's a bit like what I imagine Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got a golden ticket to work on one of these shows. You're like, you can't, because obviously I'm sure you did the same. I took all my family there. And I mean, my mum was just, you know, I could not believe she was on the cobbles and in the Emmerdale village.
Yeah, it's just the most amazing thing to be part of, especially my parents, you know, they literally watch soaps religiously. We're from Blackpool, you know.
Yeah, we're from a northern girl.
Yeah,
So
Corrie and Emmerdale, that's it. That's what we watch all the time. I used to be a Corrie tour guide. Can you believe it?
Did you?
Yeah, I used to be in Blackpool when I was 16. They opened the Coronation Street set indoors in Blackpool. It was a pure replica, and they built it for the Corrie stars to film indoors on rainy days. That's what they initially built it for.
Oh, right.
And what happened was they found that the commute was too long, and they ended up not using it, and so it was just turned into an indoor studio set, and it lasted years. It was there for years, and I was a tour guide there.
That's amazing. Well, that goes with the story. My favourite story of any cast actually is Lacey Turner in EastEnders. Used to work on Boreham Wood Market outside the studios.
Oh my God.
I always say she dreamed of entering those gates, and now obviously became one of the biggest stars in there. It's so weird. That must be so surreal, and same for you. But you kind of went in. You had a few men. You had a one-night stand with Carl King.
Yeah.
What's it like doing your first kiss on telly? Because I always think suddenly, you know, you've done theatre and whatever. Suddenly you got cameras there and stuff. How do you cope with knowing, right, oh my God, I'm kissing someone today?
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? Because what job do you go to?
Yeah.
Normal life. You don't go to work at, you know, in the Halifax Bank and sit down next to your colleague and give him a snog, do you know?
And you probably spoke, you know, everyone's spoken. You know, Tom Lister, who plays Carl, is married with kids. So it's like, you kind of know all about them, and then suddenly you've got to kiss them.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for it? Did you talk? Do you talk to the other actors before you do scenes like that?
Well, I did talk. No, I'm quite open. I like to be quite open and honest with people, and I just ask the questions. You know, how do we do this? What do we do? I heard from other people that usually you don't use tongues unless it's like, you know, unless you're told to, or it's full on. But you know, this is a family show, and so it's just a kiss, really, isn't it? And there was a couple of raunchy scenes with Matthew Wolfenden I had to do, and one of them I had to wear like this lacy underwear and get in bed with him, and I was terrified.
I'm sure you were.
Terrified. And I remember that day thinking, God, I'm so utterly nervous of this.
Well, because again, people are listening. It's not like, you know, you've got a crew of like 40 people there. They're adjusting lights around you. Even as a director, it's so embarrassing, I find, to direct those scenes. Because again, it's just a very, very weird scenario. Seeing your friend and colleague suddenly coming out in lingerie, and you're like, right, okay.
Yeah. And there's
move your hand down there a bit, because the shot, do you know what I mean? Not in a rude way, but it's like, you know, it's all so technical in the end, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's like that scene from Love Actually.
Oh, the Love Actually, where Martin, the guy from The Office, and Jonah Page are doing the stand-ins.
I kid you not, it's just like that. You have to hold, and sometimes this is the worst bit for me, is when they go, can you just lean in for the kiss? Don't actually kiss, but your lips are almost touching, so we can just get the lighting right.
And then you have to stay there for 5 minutes.
And you're like, this is so awkward. I mean, it's only as awkward as you make it. You got to just have a laugh really about it. And everybody's different. Every person you work with is different. I remember I've worked with people that are more nervous than others, and I've done a lot of theatre, which helped, because I've kissed people on stage. But when you kiss people on stage, there's music behind it, and it's all twinkly and romantic, and the lights are dark, and there's an audience, and nobody makes you do it 8 times. Should we just do that again? Can we just take that again because the lighting wasn't quite right, and you've got.
I mean, I always think this as an actor, right? I think that theatre. I mean, there's such different mediums, but I always think probably for an actor in theatre, you get lost in that character for 2 hours,
Yeah.
And with television, you don't do that. So do you know what I mean? So it is more, I suppose, uncomfortable because on theatre you just get into that character for 2 hours, but on set you're constantly going from Hayley to Del to Hayley to Del.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard. I get nervous about those moments, but I do thrive off them. I think they're fun to do.
And then you also you got one of the luxuries, which never happens anymore. You went to Spain with the Dingles for the special.
God. I know.
I mean, that's incredible because, gone are those days. I mean, that must have been amazing, packing up. How long did you go to Spain for? Was that a DVD special? Was that one of the...
Yeah, we did a DVD. We went to Spain for a week and we were expecting it, thinking it's going to be beautiful weather. We're going to have the best time. It rained every day we were there.
Oh no!
Trying to film around the rain, and oh gosh, it was so difficult, but we managed it, and it was fun. It was so much fun. And
I think because obviously in the village, that's why they built the purpose-built village because we didn't have public there to stop filming. I mean, when you suddenly go to Spain, and Emmerdale was. Obviously, it's a huge show. I mean, did you find it really difficult? Did you have loads of people just stopping you the whole time?
Yeah, when I was in Emmerdale, I never really when an actor gets loads of scenes to do, and you're like a big storyline or whatever. When I was in Emmerdale, I think I didn't really understand that very much, and in that Spain time, the story was. Pretty much a lot of it was me. And so I was running around Spain with Tom Lister, like doing a horse and carriage scene where we're in a horse and carriage and ride through Spain and be filmed. And it was like the biggest story ever, and I look back and think, wow.
I don't think you do. I mean, everyone that I'm speaking to on this podcast, I think everyone takes it in after. I think that's life, actually. Because even as a director, you go on set your first day and you just get on with it, don't you? And then afterwards, you're like, wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, it's huge, huge. I was blessed with some really, really big storylines on Emmerdale, When I think about it, just to be a Dingle, it's just everything, isn't it? I couldn't wait.
Well, you'll go down. I think what's nice is that you will go down in history. Do you know what I mean? In one of our shows, one of the bread and butters shows of Britain. Do you know what I mean? That's amazing.
I mean, I'm waiting for her to come back. She needs to come back and just cause a bit of havoc. Yeah,
she does. We're in this age of people, everything's coming back at the moment. So we need to start a campaign, get Del back.
Oh my God, I'd love it. I'd love it. She could cause havoc with Mandy Dingle, I think.
Yes, because Lisa's back. Yeah. So, I mean, we can go on and on about Emmerdale, but you've also done, just another little programme. Coronation Street, playing Andrea Beckett from 2013 to 2015. That's where we worked together. So you joined Corrie. Obviously, that must have been, again, just incredible, joining Coronation Street.
Oh, it was just a dream, honestly. I mean, do you know what happened with this? When my agent rang and said, you've got an audition for Coronation Street, I said, well, I'm not going. And he said, why not? And I said, because I've already done Emmerdale. They're never going to pick me. Why?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said, why would they want me in 2 soaps? They're never going to choose me. I don't want to go and feel embarrassed if I don't get it. And he said, but they've asked for you. They've asked you to go. And he said, you're doing it, Hayley, you're going. And I went with this attitude of they're never going to choose me. And so it was all...
You kind of probably didn't get nervous. And
That's it. Because I had it in my head that I wouldn't get it. And of course, there I got it, And I got on set and... I had to do my my audition on set with Simon Gregson and Craig Charles.
Who were Steve and Lloyd.
And that was scary as hell because these 2 characters I've grown up watching on telly, and I used to have a picture of Simon on my wall when I was a kid. I mean, I have told him that now, but mortifying that he was on my wall when I was a teenager.
Well, I was when I joined EastEnders, I said to Letitia Dean, like, I've still got the signed photo that I wrote and asked for from you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious, isn't it? Because we all do. We all grow up loving those shows. So,
Yeah.
and that's how Andrea came in as a friend of Steve, and why we're here, actually. The little quiz on Andrea. Can you remember what course you were on when you both enrolled at college? What were you studying?
We're not studying English.
No, history. Oh, you're bad at this, Hayley. You're not gonna get booked for the chase now.
God, no.
But then you soon fell for Steve's best friend, as we said, because that's who you auditioned with as well, Craig Charles, who's a legend as well, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that? Because that partnership was great. I mean, I honestly think they never made the most of you in Coronation Street as Andrea. And was that hard, I suppose, after playing such an established character in the end, like Dell, and then playing a character? Because I think this is the thing with soaps, you can get a little bit lost, can't you? If you're not given that. You're not playing the bitch, or you're not playing if you're playing a normal person, which I know sounds really weird, but Andrea was a normal person, it's quite hard, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what they tried to do was, initially, I think they were going to put me with Steve, and then they changed their mind, because I was only meant to go in for 3 months. That was the initial contract, and then
okay.
And then they asked me to stay on for another 3 months, so I did 6 months. And then after that, they said, we would love you to stay on. What we're going to do is change the storyline around so we can keep you, which was amazing.
Incredible.
I ended up I was there for 2.5 years after that. So they put me with Craig, which I loved. It meant I got to do all the comedy stuff, which is my thing anyway. And all my scenes were with Craig and Simon and Sue Cleaver in the cab office, which was just brilliant. And Les Dennis as well, who I loved working with.
Oh, Les Dennis was one of the ones I was like, oh my God, this is incredible, Les Dennis.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We had a ball. And I did have some great stories. It's just, I think I don't know, Craig went off and did The Jungle, and after that he had some time off, and then my character never really had anywhere to go because Craig wasn't there, and so eventually they just kind of let us both go, and it was a shame. I felt like I had so much more to give at Corrie.
Oh, totally. And it's never the actors. I just think it is that is soap that sometimes they, some characters, they just don't know what to do with in a way. Because I remember, speaking to one of my friends who's a storyline, and everyone could do this at home. So I'm sure everyone listening would go, oh, well, it's easy to come up with stories. Now, if you actually just sit back and go, right, well, think of a story for Gail. You sit there and actually, when you think of, it's really bloody hard, because affairs are easy. Affairs, right, that's the easy storyline to do. But anything else actually is really hard to come up with a long-running good story for someone.
Oh, my gosh, the writers are incredible on these shows, They have so much work to do. And the stories they come up with are always so brilliant. And, it just... The way it happened for me, it happened, and I'm not at all bitter about it. Just bring me back, for crying out loud.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, you can share your time. You can do a week there and a week there.
Right, I know.
And you did get to do a stunt, didn't you, on the top of the Rovers as well? Because you had with Tim Metcalf, who Johnny I love as well. Tell us about that.
That was so much fun, They asked me how I'd feel about doing this thing where I was falling off the roof of the Rovers, and I was like, yes, but I want to do my own stunt.
Well, and we know now with your experience of falling that, you've got that experience.
I said, can I do my own stunts? And they went, not really. And I said, no. Honestly, I want to do my own. I want to do it. I'm more than capable.
And I want a crown on.
Yeah. And they brought the stunt guys in who are just superb, aren't they? They're just amazing.
Oh, amazing, yeah.
And there's all these wires on top of the roof. Now, I'm terrified of heights. I'm terrified. So when I was up there, I was like, what have I said yes to? But we did it, and it was so brilliant. And then there was one bit where they had to have me hanging from the guttering.
Oh my God.
And then the guttering was to snap, and I was to drop. And I got up there and I said, I'm going to do the most of it myself. And then they were a bit scared about one point. They brought in the stunt girl to do one little bit, but the rest of it I did myself. So it is all me, apart from one tiny shot, which was really scary. And I'm glad I didn't do it in the end. Because
and actually, we have to tell people at home, like, when you get stunt people, can be hilarious. And this has happened to me a few times directing. It might not be a person of the same sex.
Yes, I know.
Sometimes
It was luckily.
It was a girl.
Yeah, it was a girl. They put a dark wig on her, and we did look quite similar from the back.
It's great when you do look similar, because when I did EastEnders again, Barbara Windsor's double was looked like her, and between takes they were laying out cardboard boxes for the people to fall on. Everyone kept shouting, "Barbara, stop! Just sit down," because we saw this stunt woman arranging all the boxes, thinking Barbara Windsor was kind of trying to do two jobs.
God.
And were you there for the old? Were you on the old set at Corrie as well?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, because I directed the last day at that, and I don't know whether you were there actually that day, but I think as well it changed, didn't it, when we went to the new place? I mean, it's still an amazing show, but that magic of that old Granada studio was amazing, wasn't it? There,
I think if you'd have been there, a long time on Corrie and working a long time, you felt that. I'd done other shows in the Granada studios for telly, so I'd been in there many a time doing shows. And it was magical, don't get me wrong, but I actually loved the move.
Oh, did you?
I did. I loved the new building. It's such a wonderful place. It's spacious, and it was just great. And I loved the area, So for me, that's how I felt about it. But I know a lot of people were just so gutted when they left the.
I mean, it was, yeah, I love the new place. I mean, for you, it was great because you got better dressing rooms as well, and kind of the green room was amazing, wasn't it? It was a much nicer place. I suppose what it was for me is that it's just when you move, I think when you go on the old street and you just know, it's just that history, isn't it? And you just think, I suppose it's now building a new history on the new street.
Yeah.
And then one more question. Can you remember your first line in the show? I mean, I've gone out there and done my research here, Hayley.
You know my first line?
Can you remember it? No.
No. Do I not just walk in and say, "Is Steve about?" Or not?
You said, I'll have a dry white wine, please, Michelle.
Oh, is that what I said?
Which I love that. It's just such a classic soap line, isn't it? Just asking for a drink in the pub.
I'll have a dry white wine, please, Michelle.
There we go. You heard it recreated here, everyone. And then, as we said, you left. And, part of the reason was Craig going. And again, I suppose it's hard, isn't it, in telly, when you've got a partnership, because that is how sometimes things happen.
Oh, I sobbed. I sobbed like a baby. They brought me in to say that Craig had, wanted to leave. He had other commitments and stuff, and that they were going to write us out together in the live episode. And I was like, well, how amazing that they're letting me go in the live episode, because, that's such a great way to
I think we used to laugh about this because we were like, you could easily just not go. Yeah. It's live.
You know what? Everyone was telling me to do that.
Yeah. You just do this big announcement. I've just bought number 10 for us.
Yeah, everyone was saying it's live, Hayley. Just turn around and go, do you know what? I've actually changed my mind.
Yes, I've just bought number 10. And can you believe it? I'm going to run the pub. That would have been amazing.
What would they have done? If only
you probably wouldn't have worked again, to be honest. Probably a bad idea, but that would have still gone down in history.
I know. But it was a great way to leave, I just didn't want to leave. When they told me I was going, I literally sat there and went, no, please.
Yeah. But again, you've been part of one of the biggest shows in our history, which is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I have, and Corrie really has a special place in my heart, definitely. I kind of did a full circle being a tour guide and then ending up in the show, and I'm just blooming grateful. I got to do two of the best shows on TV.
I know, it's incredible. So let's go to you. You were born, as we've said, you worked in Blackpool. You were born in Blackpool in 1977, which we've also established that you're a year older than me.
Yeah.
Woo! You went to Montgomery High School in Blackpool. Yeah. Do you remember your first part in a play or a production?
Oh my God, I was on the stage at 3.
I mean, God, that's amazing. I can see that in you.
Yeah, I mean, jazz hands I was born doing jazz hands. 3 years old, I think I was when I got on my first stage, and I've just been on it ever since.
And do you remember, what was your first professional job then? Because you've done, well, let's just talk about theatre. You've done so much. You've done Grease as Frenchie, Chorus Line as Diana, Boogie Nights, Mamma Mia, Fame, played Janet in the Rocky Horror Show. I mean, Spamalot. I mean, you could not have done that. A bloody impressive list of stuff.
Thank you. I was actually labelled a bit of a reject at college.
Well, isn't that amazing to say hello?
Yeah, I had no help. Like leaving college, I wasn't given an agent. I wasn't one of those girls that walked out of college and walked straight into a job. I was the girl running around Soho knocking on people's doors with in those days, in the 90s, you had your CVs and your headshots, and you put them through people's letterbox. And if you were very lucky, someone might have opened the door to you, and that was what I did. And I went for an open audition for Fame, the musical. And when I say open auditions, if people don't know what they are, well, in the 90s, you could be looking at over 1,000 girls turn up and queue around the block of the theatre to audition for Fame. And these are people without an agent. So this was me. And I went...
And how did you find, I think of X Factor and all those things. What is it like being with 1,000? Because it's not 1,000 normal people in a way. Like, these people are hungry, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They're hungry. They're older than you. They're younger than you. They're prettier than you. They're thinner than you. It's all of those things you got to contend with. And I was quite ballsy when I was younger. I think I still am now a little bit. But back then, I was always the kid that was like, right, I need to stand on the front row to be noticed because I'm so tall. So I would just push my way to the front and stand on the front row. And in Fame, I got a recall. And that was your first big open audition. Big open audition. That
brilliant, amazing.
In the West End, and I got a recall, and then I got another recall, and I thought, oh, I'm doing all right here. And so I went to an agency, and I told them I was on my third recall for Fame, and they signed me up there and then, and I was just, that was amazing. And luckily, I got it. Out of all these thousands of women, I got to play understudy to the 3 female leads of the show.
Wow.
So yeah.
So, and again, for people listening, does that mean you had to learn the 3 lead parts?
So I learned the 3 female lead parts.
Wow.
All of that, all of their scripts, songs, dialogue, everything, and also the 4 female dancers. I understudied them as well. So,
oh my God! And were you ever tempted to push one of them off stage and break their legs?
You don't need to in musicals because it's so demanding. It's such hard work that people get injured all the time. So I was on every night as a different character.
Oh wow! Amazing.
Yeah, I was always.
That's almost better than playing the lead part because you're playing something different. How brilliant!
Yeah, I mean, it's such hard work. It's the hardest job being an understudy. It's harder than playing the role, I think. And I don't think understudies get enough recognition for what they do because it's a big old task to take on board, It
is. And also, I think as an understudy, you take on that audience thing as well because if I go to the theatre and it's like, oh, so-and-so's not in it, even if I don't know who they are, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got the understudy. So you're almost the audience... they're almost you're going out to that in a way.
Yeah, and you feel the audience in an odd way feel disappointed, but I don't know why because the understudy is usually better than us. Part, So I did that, and then from then on, I thought I don't want to do this anymore. I need to be centre of attention. I never went for an understudy ever again. From there on, I just went for parts, and I was.
But then, what's good is I think all the best people in this industry have earned their place. Have done, and I think being an understudy in theatre, you've learnt the craft. You've been there. I think it should be a bit of a challenge to get to the top. Do you know what I mean? It kind of then builds you as a person.
I massively. I'm an advocate for that. I think that people. We climb a ladder in this industry, and there isn't an end to that ladder. There's no end. You can keep going, you keep learning, and you can learn from everybody. Still at my age and the amount of shows I've done, and, the last show I did was with some 18 and 19-year-olds who knocked the socks off me. They were that good, and I'm like, how do you do this? And and I'm learning still. And hopefully they learn from me and I learn from them. And that's how it should always be. You're never the best in this business.
No. And I think that is totally the mentality. And I think that's why I find it is really hard for people whose first job, say, is to go into a soap because A, it changes your life. But B, I think then there's too much of you'll see so many young people in soap leave after a year or so, go to Hollywood because I don't think they've had that experience of knowing that it's really tough out there, and it's not the be all and end all, as in, you might be in Emmerdale, but, in other countries, that's not going to mean anything. Can actually stay here for years and learn more of your craft from other people. And I just think it's that hungerness of our society for fame and fortune. And you know, and I bet so many people who leave soap regret doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are many people now that haven't trained. They've got into TV and they've got no training, no experience or anything. You know what? I'm not one of those people that shakes my head at that. I think if you want to do something, you go for it.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah.
If you need to, if you audition for The Voice or for X Factor because you're not getting noticed elsewhere, then go for it. Live your dream. That's what it's about. But also at the same time, once you get there, you need to stay grounded and you need to be humble. And that I think
That's the hardest bit. That's the hardest lesson to learn. And
yeah.
it's not anyone's fault when they don't. But I mean, again, people listening, I'm saying this and I'm not in that position. I never have been, but I've got a bit of it when I direct big shows, and it does go to your head a little bit and you have to keep bringing yourself back.
I definitely did it. The things have definitely gone to my head, but I've been knocked down a peg or two by bigger people. And I've learnt my lesson when I was younger. And, now I'm like, you've got to stay humble. You've got to stay grounded, because on the people you meet on the way up, you're always going to meet them on the way down.
And that's so true, everyone listening.
Remember that.
TV and theatre is not a big world. It's a very small world.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, stage, we could go on for ages because you've done all of those amazing things. But then you were in one of my favourite shows ever as well. You played Callista in, is it Callista?
Yeah, Shameless.
In Shameless. Were you there with James McAvoy?
No.
Okay.
He'd gone when I was doing it. I was there with Sally, who's now in Corrie.
And were you there with Kelly Hollis as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was just, I'm bringing Shameless up because that's so different than soap. I mean, what was it like working, because very edgy. Was it remarkably different than doing soap?
It was crazy, yeah. Sally Carman was the first person I met when I got there to film, and she literally took me under her wing. She was amazing. I loved that girl, and now we are still mates because of that show. And it was just very, very different. It was slower pace, because, soaps are really, really quick. We can film in a soap. You can film, 14 scenes a day.
Because it's multi-camera, yeah, you just whiz through it.
Yeah, whereas in a drama or, a TV drama, you can just film 2 scenes a day. It's totally different. So, yeah, it was a much slower pace, but I had a great character. I was a lesbian, and I had to do my first lesbian kiss.
Amazing.
We were talking about kissing before, that one. That was my first lesbian kiss in Shameless. You just got to go for it, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, moving on from dramas and stuff, you've also, obviously, everyone will remember, again, gone down in history for your appearance on Dancing on Ice, for doing that one dance that everyone remembers too. What was the song called?
Jai Ho.
I mean, I can visualize that dance in my head with gorgeous Dan Whiston, as I said, who is one of the nicest people on earth.
I know.
You won the 5th series of that. I mean, again, that must have been incredible, because I think that was at the height of Dancing on Ice's, peak of fame. What was that like? I mean, when you did that dance and that reaction happened, I mean, it must be incredible.
Well, we weren't expecting that reaction. That's what's so interesting. We were just dancing. We were just doing the weekly routine. So we absolutely had no idea what was going to happen afterwards. How many viewers we had for that episode. It was crazy. And it to this day, when people meet me in the street or meet me out, they want to talk about that. It's so wonderful.
And then I always think, when you had to go back, and because you obviously, that was one of your, the dance that you're going to choose to then do in the final, which you did.
Yeah.
Was the pressure then totally on you, thinking, well, I mean, we did brilliantly with this dance and now we've got to do it again?
Yeah, it was huge. Absolutely huge. And it was huge to start with, because we knew it was slightly different. Nobody had done this before. It was a Bollywood routine. It was huge. And the choreography was difficult, and I had to do spins in it and everything. And then, it was to try and recreate it. You worry about that, And then when I got asked to do it again in 2014, they said, what routine would you like as your skate off routine? Every week, if you got in the skate off, you had to do a routine. And so we said, could we do Jai Ho? And they said, maybe, yeah. And they let us do it. But luckily, we didn't get to skate off. We didn't get in the skate off anymore. So we got to do it in the very, very final show
Amazing
of Dancing on Ice, which was just incredible.
And then, I mean, when you did that, was it really tough mentally and physically, that?
Dancing on Ice is one of the most challenging, difficult things I've ever done, let alone the amount of injuries that I got from it, that I still have from it. But, things that you've never attempted before in your entire life, you're doing. You're not just doing on the floor, you're doing it on skates.
I know. I mean,
it's crazy. The spinning really makes me sick.
And did you have any bad injuries? Did you have any cuts? I mean, I just envision myself skating off someone's fingers.
Oh, well, they teach you about retracting your fingers. That's one of the first things.
Oh, that's one of the first things they teach you.
If you fall, retract your fingers immediately. It's like in your brain. But yeah, I had a big injury in the first few weeks of rehearsals. I popped a rib. And oh my God, the pain of that is just insane. I tore both calf muscles.
And it's not like you're off then for 4 weeks. You're actually continuing on the show.
Keep going. The physio was amazing. She just, she patches you back together and you carry on. And there was no way I was going off. You would have had to drag me by my hair. I was going to skate to the end of that show, and I did. So, yeah, I'm quite determined like that.
Oh, it was. Again, that go down in history is just one of those. I mean, I think that and Todd Carty skating off the side will be Dancing on Ice's highlights, really. Do you know what I mean? You'll always remember those. And so, Hayley, recently you've obviously had a child, Jasper, which is obviously a change of life, but you've openly talked about having postnatal depression as well.
Yeah.
Which must be hard because you don't, obviously, no one who has postnatal depression expects it. How is that coming out of that, I suppose?
Well, I luckily I am through the other side of it now. It was you're right, I didn't know I had it. I honestly thought I was losing my marbles. I've never suffered depression. I'm lucky that I've never suffered from depression. I've had a lot of therapy. I read self-help books. I'm a very positive person. Anybody who knows me, knows.
Totally you are, yeah. I mean, it's often say though, sometimes it's those people actually who are, who do suffer. And that's why I suppose everyone would be shocked to know in a way that you have even suffered from it, because you are such a lovely outgoing person.
It hit me in the face, and I knew I needed to speak to someone about it and get some help, and I did. I contacted a wonderful therapist called Sari, and she was just brilliant. And with in a matter of sessions with her, I knew what I had to do, and I'm through the other side of it now. And I think most women who have a baby suffer some sort of postnatal depression, whether they.
I think your life totally changes, doesn't it?
They've got it or not, and also being able to talk about it, which is so difficult being a mom, because you feel like a failure. The minute you open your mouth and tell someone you're not coping, you feel like you failed as a mom. It's hard to explain it, because until you're a mom, it's hard to know what that sensation feels like. But it just makes you feel crap, And I knew not only did I have to sort myself out, when I was scrolling through Instagram, as we all do during lockdown, and I'm like, it's making me feel ill.
Worse, yeah.
And looking at all these women with babies that look so perfect, and why am I not like that? Why am I not back in my jeans that I can't squeeze into? Why have I still got a belly? Everything was just, scrolling through Instagram was so detrimental to my mental health. And I thought, if I feel like this, there must be hundreds of moms, new moms, that are looking at Instagram, maybe for a bit of help, clarity, to take their mind off things. But actually all they're feeling is low self-worth. And
it just adds to that. And I think that's why I brought it up, because I think it's just great for people listening to you're in that position. I'm very respectful of you coming out and talking about it, because you've got that position that people can go, oh right, she went through it, and look at her. Do you know what I mean? So anyone out there that's suffering that, and we'll put some details on the podcast page, so you can click on and go to any of these charities. And just tell us the project you're doing, because you're now doing a project related to this.
We've started a 4-week course, me and Sari, to help mum, and we started it to do with new mums, but we've actually said all parents with kids of any age will benefit from this. The advice that Sari gave me was so clear, it was ridiculous. And I said to her, if you can do this for other moms, you'll help so many people. And for me, my part, I'm going to do live question and answers via Zoom with the moms themselves, so they can talk to me and ask me questions. And I am so thoroughly honest now, because that's what needs to be on social media. We need some honesty from people who are well known or celebrities or wherever you want to call people, we need some honesty so that parents and new mums have got people to look up to, for honest answers.
No, totally. And how do people do this course? Is there we'll obviously put the website as well, but is there...
If you put on Sari Taylor's Instagram page, they can go direct to her link in her bio. We've started this course now, but we've had a lot of requests, so we're going to run it again. So,
brilliant.
So don't feel like you've missed out. You can still do it. And,
And anyone can always message Soap from the Box as well, and I'll pass anything on to Hayley as well. Well, Hayley, it's been amazing talking to you. I mean, literally, look at the time. It's gone so quickly because you've done so much. Also, and I'll let everyone know, I haven't let everyone know this, because normally I've met people, and we're doing this virtually because it's just been impossible my side to meet up with Hayley. So normally I will present you with, and I'm going to send you it, a soap in the box, from the box. And the final question is, any character in Emmerdale or Coronation Street, who would you give that soap to wash away their sins?
Sins?
Yes. Who needs a good wash down of their dirt and their drama?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question.
It is a big question.
Oh, let's give it to Daniel Brocklebank, because it kind of goes with the sin thing, him playing a vicar.
Yeah, I quite like that. That's good, yeah.
And he's had a few sins to wash away in the past.
I mean, he's quite a bad vicar.
Yeah. So
let's be honest. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Hayley, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, darling. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to Hayley for being my special guest on this special edition of Soap from the Box. And another little insider thing, actually. I remember seeing Hayley and Linda in Dancing on Ice in the studio. And I remember you were there for about 5 hours, and all you got given as an audience member was a little hot dog. Things have probably changed. I'm sure Holly and Phil have made sure you get a whole hamper now. But there we go. I'll be back in a few days' time with another guest. I'll be putting clues at Soap from the Box on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, so you can have a guess at who it's going to be. I'd like to thank David Stevens and the Bothy as usual for their edit and technical wizardry. And just a little, one of my favourite sayings actually, now we're going into lockdown, is it's not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. It's going to be tough for everyone, but keep smiling, and I'm here throughout with loads of guests to hopefully cheer you up a bit. So take care, guys.